Forget everything you thought you knew about Soulslike games, because Phantom Blade Zero might be one of the craziest action games coming out this year. We're talking insane sword fights, brutal assassins, kung fu, massive bosses, and combat that looks more like a Hollywood action movie than a video game. And now, after the latest gameplay reveal, we finally have a much better idea of what this game is actually going to be. So today we're breaking down everything you need to know about Phantom Blade Zero, and trust me, you are going to want to see this one. This game looks unreal. Phantom Blade Zero is being developed by S-Game and is built around what the developers call Kung Fu Punk. Imagine classic Chinese martial arts movies, mix that with dark fantasy, add ridiculously fast sword combat, then throw it into a massive action RPG that's basically Phantom Blade Zero. And the crazy part, the developers aren't trying to make combat look realistic, they're trying to make it look cool. Every sword swing is exaggerated, every dodge is cinematic, every enemy feels like they're trying to kill you in the most stylish way possible, and honestly, it looks incredible. Meet Soul. You play as Soul, and Soul isn't some random warrior who decides to pick up a sword. He's an elite assassin. He's part of a mysterious organization known as the Order. But things go very wrong. Soul is framed for the murder of the Order's patriarch. He's hunted down, he's nearly killed, and somehow he survives, but there's a problem. Soul only has 60 days to live. Yup, 60 days, and now he has to uncover the conspiracy behind what happened to him before his time runs out. So you've got this ticking clock hanging over the entire story, and that immediately raises one massive question. What happens when those 60 days are gone? The combat is the star of the show. Let's be honest, this is the part everyone is talking about, the combat. Phantom Blade Zero looks ridiculously fast. We're seeing swords clashes, perfect dodges, parries, counterattacks, weapon switching, and combos that can turn a normal enemy encounter into a full-blown action sequence. And unlike a lot of slower Souls-like games, this isn't about standing behind an enemy and slowly chipping away at their health. You're constantly moving, you're attacking, you're defending, you're looking for openings, and when you finally find one, you explode. There are a ton of weapons, and this is where things get even more interesting. Soul isn't locked into using one giant sword for the entire game. The combat system features a variety of weapons, and each one can dramatically change how you approach a fight. Fast weapons, heavy weapons, different attack patterns, different ranges, different ways to destroy your enemies. So depending on your playstyle, you could potentially build Soul completely differently from another player. And that's exactly what I want from an action RPG like this. The bosses look brutal. If you've watched the trailers, you already know the bosses in Phantom Blade Zero are absolutely terrifying. And they're not just giant monsters standing in an arena waiting for you to attack them. They are fighters, they are assassins, they are warriors. They are characters with their own weapons and fighting styles, which means some boss battles look less like traditional video game boss fights and more like two martial artists trying to murder each other. One of the newest gameplay showcases even features an insane fight taking place around a moving horse drawn cart. Yes, a boss fight. While the cart is moving, this game is clearly not interested in playing it safe. Then there is Donnie Yen. Here is something that makes the combat even more interesting. Donnie Yen is involved with Phantom Blade Zero. If you don't recognize the name, he's a legendary martial artist and actor known for movies like IP Man, as well as appearances in Rogue One and John Wick Chapter 4. And he hasn't simply slapped his name onto the project. According to the developers, Yen has been involved as a creative consultant on the game's kung fu choreography since 2023. He also performs the character Mo Yuan, Soul's father. So when you're watching these insane martial arts sequences, there is some serious real-world martial arts expertise behind them. And honestly, you can see it. The world. Phantom Blade Zero takes place in a dark, Wuxia-inspired world filled with assassins, warriors, secret organizations, and supernatural elements. And the visual design is one of the game's biggest strengths. Everything looks dark, stylized, ancient, but also strangely futuristic. You've got traditional Chinese architecture, massive temples, dark forests, underground locations, and environments that look like they were ripped straight from a martial arts movie. The developers are basically creating their own version of a cinematic Chinese fantasy world. Is it a Souls-like? Here is where things get interesting. People constantly compare Phantom Blade Zero to games like Sekiro and other Souls-like, and yes, there are similarities. The combat is challenging, timing matters, dodging and parrying are important. Enemies can absolutely destroy you if you aren't paying attention, but the developers have been clear that Phantom Blade Zero isn't simply trying to copy Dark Souls. This game wants to be much more focused on fast-paced action and martial arts. You need to think less about slowly walk through a dangerous dungeon and more about How did that guy just cut me in half? This game is single player. Phantom Blade Zero is designed as a single player action RPG, and that's important because as a game is clearly putting a huge amount of effort into the cinematic experience. This isn't just about creating a difficult combat system, they want the story, the characters, the environments, the boss battles, and the combat to all feel like one giant martial arts movie that you can actually play. And here is the part you'll be waiting for. Phantom Blade Zero is coming October 29th, 2026. It's launching on PlayStation 5 and PC, and yes, that means we are very close. Pre-orders are already open and the game has been generating huge attention following its latest gameplay reveal. The new 11-minute demo reportedly pulled around 8 million views in one day on Bilibili, while Phantom Blade Zero also shot the top of Steam global bestseller chart. That's a pretty good sign that people are paying attention. Why everyone is watching this game? Think about what we've seen from the Chinese game industry over the last few years. Black Myth Wukong showed the world that Chinese studios can create massive AAA action games that compete on a global level. Now Phantom Blade Zero is trying something completely different. It's taking Chinese martial arts, Wuxia, dark fantasy, and ridiculously fast combat and turning it into a massive AAA action RPG. And if this game actually delivers on what we've seen, this could be one of the biggest surprises of 2026. My final thought: Phantom Blade Zero has everything I want from a modern action game: a mysterious story, a badass protagonist, insane sword combat, brutal bosses, a unique visual identity, and now a release date that's right around the corner. The only question is, can the full game actually live up to these trailers? Because right now, the trailers are setting the bar way up here, and if the final game delivers, we could be looking at one of the best action games of the year. So I want to know, are you buying Phantom Blade Zero? And more importantly, do you think it can beat games like Sekiro and Black Myth Wukong? Drop your answers in the comments, and if you want more videos covering the biggest upcoming games, subscribe, because Phantom Blade Zero is just getting started. Don't forget to join the Kenshiro community, and as always, until another one, peace.